Hey guys, tonight we stand with the wolf pack on a wind-bright ridge, frost needling the air while the moon turns every breath into a slow ribbon of silver. You probably don't want to go through this if your idea of winter involves a blanket, a warm mug, and socks thick enough to count as shoes. Out here, comfort is a rumor, and the snow keeps receipts. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you really like what I have to say here. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The lesson for the young wolf begins with scent, because scent is the archive wolves read by starlight. The beta wolf leads along the lee side of the ridge where the wind is gentler. The young wolf mirrors each step, front paws placing like careful signatures in the crust. Tonight the pack measures how winter edits the world. Elk musk thins to a faint pencil line. Rabbit prints look like commas that forgot their sentence. Even pine sap has a cold accent. A light joke arrives as a powdery sneeze. The young wolf sniffs too hard and erupts in a snow-dusted sneeze that startles an owl, who departs with the indignant flapping of a librarian interrupted mid-page. The beta wolf pretends this was part of the curriculum and resumes the curve. This is the canon event, night tracking in low wind, logging what can be trusted when the cold compresses everything. The quirky note hides in a spruce cone. The baby wolf discovers that if the cone is rolled just right, seeds pop like tiny coins in the snow. They reach a shallow basin scuffed by deer earlier in the day. The beta wolf sets a test without ceremony. Each wolf samples the air from knee height, then shoulder height, then nose to snow, sensing how scent stacks like layers in a cake baked by weather. The young wolf notices the deer trace is easiest where crystals are fine and dry. Where the sun glazed the crust, the smell slides away. Small discovery, big pride. The beta wolf acknowledges with the briefest tail flick. Roles get assigned with quiet choreography. The alpha wolf takes the north flank watch. The beta wolf accepts route leader. Two adult wolves gather the back door and pantry detail, checking old caches buried before the last storm. The mother wolf becomes den guardian and tenderizer-in-chief for the baby wolf. The young wolf receives apprentice status for night tracking, which sounds humble and feels enormous. Wind shifts, soft as a page turning. The pack tilts as one, noses lifting to catch new possibilities. From down valley comes a skinny ribbon of elk, stretched thin by the cold, more memory than perfume. They drop to a lower shelf where dwarf willows pin the snow in sparser drifts. Each paw chooses dark soil between crystals because noise in winter isn't just sound, it's contrast. The young wolf learns to place steps where the ground already speaks. The beta wolf traces a triangle in the snow. Nose, breeze, target at the points. Geometry class with fur. The young wolf tests the shape by circling a tuft of frozen fern, then stepping back when the breeze threatens to carry their own scent into the practice area. Lesson landed? Do not fight the wind. Cast across it and let it deliver you like mail. A raven slides overhead and croaks commentary that sounds like a review channel. A shallow draw offers fox tracks, neat as stitching. The beta wolf lets the young wolf follow for 50 paces, then calls it with a glance. Not our hunt, not tonight. Save energy for the syllabus. The mother wolf encourages the baby wolf to memorize the pattern anyway. They pause at a spruce that leaks a bead of amber. Here comes the quirky ritual, winter cologne. An adult wolf rubs lightly, a dab behind the ears, masking a hint of doggishness with evergreen dignity. The stars burn a low blue heat, breath plumes and falls. The pack listens to the landscape's slow engines. Distant river ice gives a lute note, a warning that future crossings will be auditions, not guarantees. Owls trade arithmetic about voles. The beta wolf has the young wolf close eyes and inventory with nose alone. Elk ghost, rabbit comma, fox stitch, spruce resin, pack breath. the metallic hint of weather's next idea. They spiral back toward the ridge, riding a loose braid of tracks that wastes no step. Now the alpha wolf models the winter walk that looks lazy and is actually efficient. Shoulders loose, rhythm steady, head level, so scents flow without turbulence. The young wolf copies the gait, nearly nails it, stumbles once, and recovers with a flourish that would earn applause if wolves clapped. The beta wolf approves with a shoulder bump. For another joke, a ptarmigan mutters from under the snow like a grumpy coach. At the ridge, rolls settle like snow on fir boughs. Night will be light work, with a serious face. The backdoor team ghosts toward the old cache marker. The den guardian curls around the baby wolf, and the alpha wolf faces north, where tomorrow's choices are being mixed by wind. The young wolf presses an ear to the snow and hears the small fizz of crystals settling, the planet's quiet applause. Tail tucked for warmth, paws under belly, nose under tail tip, a circle of intention. The beta wolf takes first watch. Moonlight slides behind a rag of cloud, and the dark deepens by one calm shade. The pack exhales together. Winter, taking attendance, nods. For a last scrap of humor, the raven returns, croaks once as if grating, and drifts away. The cannon holds, the quirky cologne lingers, and the ridge keeps watch while the pack rests. Dawn arrives, like someone turned the dimmer up 2 notches and decided that was enough ambition for today. The patrol steps off the ridge in single file. Alpha wolf, a steady shadow. Beta wolf, setting an easy tempo. 2 adult wolves forming a quiet hinge. Young wolf tucked in where learning is warm. And the mother wolf holding the line until the den guardian can swap in later. Frost has lacquered every blade of grass, and the snow squeaks at a pitch so high it could tune a violin. Tiny fun fact the young wolf files away, because apparently snow tells you the temperature if you're nerdy enough to listen. Their map is the ground, and elk have been doodling on it all night. Here a wide splay. They're a nervous cluster where the herd paused and did that communal, "Did you hear that?" lean. The beta wolf traces arcs with a paw, showing how the wind combed through the valley and pushed elk scent into hollows while stripping it from hilltops. Lesson 1 of the morning. The breeze is a conveyor belt, not a wall. Ride it diagonally. Sample, correct. It's like using a navigation app that only shows wind arrows and vibes. They crest a small knoll and stop in a posture that says both admiring the view and checking for surprises. To the west, a stand of aspen holds last summer's whispers. To the east, a frozen meadow stretches like a page, waiting for edits. The alpha wolf watches edges, where edges always keep secrets. The beta wolf has the young wolf stand where the breeze brushes cheek fur and then, 10 paces later, where it spills at ankle height. 2 layers, 2 answers. The young wolf mouths the solution. Favor the layer that carries elk and ignore the glitter that's just sunshine flattering itself. The first silent fence rises from the snow like a paragraph underline, old wire strung between tilted posts, half buried, humming softly where frost bridged metal and wind. The pack pauses. This is not drama. This is housekeeping. The beta wolf points out the telltale. Rabbit tracks compress at the margin, then detour in a neat curve. No fur caught, no panic prints, good news. They follow the wire until the ground dips and the fence disappears under a long drift. The alpha wolf leads around, placing paws where the drift has settled. Snowhouse strong. Nobody volunteers to test the thin, sparkling lip. Winter doesn't comp you a do-over. A joke arrives because someone always slips. An adult wolf hops the near post, misjudges the angle, and ends up doing the slow-motion shuffle of dignity recovery, the dance all mammals perform after pretending they meant to do that. The beta wolf gives a look that says, yes, we all saw, And no, we will never speak of this again except constantly. The raven, of course, appears on a post and offers the kind of commentary that doesn't help but does add flavor. Down in the meadow, elk trails intersect like sleepy city streets. The beta wolf sketches detours, never cut across a fresh feed line at right angles, drift along it from the downwind side, then peel away before the herd's circular watch picks up your outline. The young wolf tests the rule on a faint route and discovers a tiny marvel where elk hooves punch through. The ice lens beneath the snow reflects a pale blue in the slant light, a visible breadcrumb trail, quirky detail logged, canon event advancing, mapping the trails, choosing a low-risk path the pack can memorize for later. They reach a patch of brush where mice have been typing frantically in ... The mother wolf pauses to let the baby wolf practice the pounce, a small hop, paws tucked, a neat thump. The outcome is mostly snow, but the lesson is rhythm. Everyone pretends not to notice when the baby wolf emerges wearing a frosty mustache, which is objectively adorable even in a PG-13 wilderness, humor too. The young wolf tries the same hop, and lands with the discreet uffer of a backpack hitting carpet. The beta wolf approves anyway. Commitment counts. Wind shifts again, now slipping along the valley like a string pulled tight. The beta wolf alters the route by 3 paw widths, which seems fussy until the new angle funnels a ribbon of elk breath right into their path. The young wolf inhales and feels a hallway open inside the nose, a corridor lit with the musk of hide and winter grass. Somewhere in that smell is the memory of last summer's wallow, dried sun on shoulders, flies strafing like tiny helicopters. The pack files this as a waypoint, 20 paces east of the old antler snag, breeze from the north, elk corridor active at dawn. At the meadow's far rim, a second silent fence reveals a different problem. The wire sags over a shallow creek that froze late. Frost feathers rim every strand, and the whole thing looks like a harp someone abandoned. The beta wolf signals a detour uphill, where snow bridges are thicker. The alpha wolf takes a long listen. Creek noise under the ice is a bass note, steady, honest. They cross, where willow roots stitch the bank together, and the young wolf learns the test. If your paw hears hollow, back up. If it hears dull, proceed like you're balancing a tray of water you don't want to spill in front of the den guardian. Humor 3 glides in with a crow that tries to outcrook the raven and fails, like a budget version of a popular channel. The raven side-eyes the audition and relocates to a prettier perch, because even in winter you can curate your brand. The patrol pauses near a low spruce, their breaths making soft metronomes. The beta wolf reviews without words, angle, layer, detour, memory. The map they're drawing won't be on paper, but it will live in paws and noses. Ready for the night, the pack must move fast and quiet when the cold clenches tighter. The young wolf circles a stomped patch and notices elk droppings arranged like punctuation. There's an almost sentence here. Feed, sleep, wake, shift. Elk have their own editorial calendar. They climb to a shallow saddle and look back. Their tracks make a careful necklace through the meadow, looping the fences, skimming the blue-lit hoofprints, crossing the creek with dignity restored. The sun finally clears the ridge and paints the frost in brief fire, all glitter and no heat. The alpha wolf signals the turn home. The beta wolf nudges the young wolf to memorize the landmarks backward, because returning on a blank page is how you lose the story. On the way, the winter cologne ritual gets a modest update. A quick roll in a snow pocket scented with crushed juniper where a grouse flurried earlier. The pack leans into the cleaner blend. They will not smell like dogs. They will smell like the forest's own playlist. The young wolf tucks that into the growing cabinet of odd wisdom, right next to Snow Squeak and Ice Bridge Bass. When the ridge rises under their paws again, the den guardian waits with the baby wolf, who has invented a game of pushing a wind-carved snowball downhill and chasing it like a tiny comet. The pack reforms around the den, a living punctuation mark at the end of the morning sentence. Behind their eyes, the map fluoresces. Wind arrows, safe detours, elk corridors, and 2 silent fences nobody will forget. The last thing the young wolf sees before curling into rest is the beta wolf gazing down valley, as if reading subtitles only experience can reveal. The lesson lands, gentle and exact. The sky folds inward the way a thick curtain does when someone pulls it too hard and daylight becomes a chalk smudge. Snow lifts from the ground and falls sideways, not so much weather as an opinion. The alpha wolf angles the pack toward the spruce line where wind loses some of its bravado. The beta wolf counts heads by scent, not sight. Faces are just soft ghosts with ears. The canon event settles over them like the storm itself. Whiteout lock-in. Mobility isn't bravery now. Patience is. They wedge into a shallow bowl under 3 leaning spruces, a nook shaped by previous winters. The den guardian noses powder into a windbreak wall, small arcs, swift and tidy. The mother wolf curls the baby wolf between forelegs and tail, which is also the official winter scarf. The young wolf, still buzzing with morning lessons, learns the most difficult posture in survival: stillness with attention. Breath becomes a metronome, and ears take shifts as antennae. The beta wolf gives 1 tap. Listen for the planet's slow machines, river under ice, branches talking, the hiss of crystal against crystal. Movement is filed under later. The spruce crowns sift snow so fine it seems to hum. Every few minutes, the wind discovers a new personality trait and tries it out. It scours. It swirls. It forgets what it was doing and goes quiet, only to remember and return with enthusiasm. The alpha wolf chooses the pack's shape, a loose comma, backs to the drift, noses pointing into a small shared chamber where combined breath warms the air just enough to feel like a secret. Humor 1. The young wolf sneezes at a floating snowflake that had the audacity to tickle a whisker, which is essentially slapping a single speck of dust. The storm remains unmoved. Vision shrinks to a radius of paw lengths. The world is scent and sound. The young wolf catalogs familiar notes from last night. Evergreen cologne, rabbit commas stitched under the bowl, the faintest idea of elk far beyond all this fuss. The beta wolf performs a tiny demonstration, pressing a paw into the drift and letting it rise slowly. Snow squeak goes silent when crystals round off with the damp breath heat. Temperature lecture concluded, the beta wolf returns to stillness. The young wolf envisions a classroom made of white noise and nods off for 3 heartbeats before snapping back with the guilty alertness of a student who pretended to read the chapter. Quirky detail drifts in with static. The storm's dry air charges fur until the baby wolf's ear flicks sparks against the mother wolf's chin. Both freeze, surprised, then relax when nothing explodes. The young wolf tests a whisker against a twig and gets a tiny tick. Wilderness Physics Lab. The raven appears as a smudge, then a silhouette on a low branch, hunched like a weather reporter who lost the memo about indoor studios. It offers 1 croak, which translates to breaking news, it's still snow, and tucks beak under wing. Humor 2. An adult wolf gives the raven the universal look for thank you for that exclusive. Hours widen, the way only winter hours can. The pack rotates positions inside the comma so no back faces the draft for too long. The den guardian checks the windbreak, pats it with a paw, and adds another layer. It's a remodel, not a panic. The alpha wolf lifts nose and reads the change. The storm's pitch lowers, more bass, less hiss. Maybe the river under the ice is getting louder, or maybe their hearing has tuned to finer bands of sound. The young wolf imagines a dial, turns it mentally and finds the frequency where spruce boughs bounce against each other with a padded clack, almost a lullaby. Hunger speaks, politely at first. The mother wolf produces a small ration from a previous cache, a frosted scrap saved for emergency boredom and morale. No feast, just a reminder that patience has calories behind it. The baby wolf nibbles and clacks tiny teeth, like a percussion instrument. The alpha wolf lets the young wolf have a bite, not for fullness, but for focus. Even during a lock-in, roles extend kindness. Humor 3. One adult wolf attempts to chew like it's savoring a chef's tasting menu, eyes half closed, and ends up swallowing a snowball with an expression that says, "Yes, that was bold water." The wind shuffles again. Somewhere above the spruce crowns, a louder gust tears, then dissolves. The beta wolf nudges the young wolf to notice how the snowpack around their bodies has transformed into a snug negative of the pack, the hollow gathering warmth like a clay oven. Condensed breath beads at the entrance and freezes into a fragile fringe, their temporary porch chandelier. The young wolf studies how each exhale curls, slows, and hangs. Every breath is handwriting on glass. Memory keeps them anchored. The young wolf rewinds the morning map. The silent fences, the blue-lit hoofprints, the willow-stitched crossing. These are not just waypoints. They're proof that the world remains beyond the white box. The beta wolf reinforces that by the simplest act, turning ears toward where the river should be. The sound arrives faint but reliable, a bass note through wool. The alpha wolf approves with a slow blink. In a life balanced on decisions, knowing when not to move is one of the hardest skills to demonstrate and the easiest to misjudge. Time slides by like a glacier taught to hurry. The light doesn't brighten, it changes quality from chalk to a softer milk. The storm begins to forget itself in stages. Flakes grow heavier, their fall audible now, tiny taps on spruce needles. The den guardian finally risks a peek beyond the windbreak. Beyond is not far, but it's farther than before. The alpha wolf waits, counts 10 breaths, then stands, stretches into the kind of slow, luxurious arc that unlocks the back and says the worst has passed. They emerge in order, not in triumph. The world is blank as a fresh page, edges gone, distances smudged. The raven shakes itself, fluffs like a dramatic actor after intermission, and lifts off with a sound like a shrug. The young wolf steps into knee-high powder and feels the snow accept. Then firm under weight, a conversation of push and hold. The beta wolf chooses a gentle line along the lee of the trees where drifts are shallow. Every few paces the pack pauses, listening, as if the silence might reveal its plans. The cannon event winds down not with motion, but with a return to deliberate motion. No bluster, no sprint. Just a slide along the spruce seam where the storm's teeth have lost their bite. The quirky detail stays with them. Little shocks snapping between tails and shoulders. Tiny winter fireworks for an audience of 6 and a raven critic. They leave a soft braid of tracks that begin nowhere and point toward a patience that worked. The young wolf glances back once and sees the wind already erasing their passage as if privacy were part of the service. At the edge of the grove, the alpha wolf halts. Ahead, where meadow begins, the white is smoother, a sign of deeper drifts. Behind, their carved nook will hold scent a little longer, a reminder for any future selves to try the same trick if they must. The beta wolf bumps the young wolf's shoulder, a wordless grade, held, learned, remembered. And because winter respects good form, the wind lowers its voice, and the pack, warm at the core and cool at the edges, steps forward together into what's left of the day. Afternoon shaves the glare off the snow, and the pack rides the spruce seam until the wind slackens enough that sound regains its edges. That's when the beta wolf halts mid-step, nose cutting a clean angle through the air like a compass needle finding north. The young wolf reads the signal, freezes, and then feels it too. A second story layered over the first. Where their morning braid of tracks would have crossed the meadow's shoulder, another line has cut across, fresh and deliberate. Rival pack. Not a rumor, not history. A present tense sentence written in firm strokes. The alpha wolf moves forward 3 careful paces, tail level, head high, but not high enough to shout. The adult wolves widen the formation, a protective hinge that keeps the mother wolf and the baby wolf inside a soft, moving parenthesis. The beta wolf studies the rival trail as if grading handwriting. 4 adults, maybe 5, 1 smaller, moving light, either a yearling or a nimble old-timer who knows how to spend energy like money. Their line is angled with the wind, scent tucked neatly into the lee of each step. Polite, practiced, not reckless. Cannon event opens like a door in the chest. Old scars stir. 2 winters back, the den guardian wore a crescent on the shoulder that took a season to fur over. No one mentions it. Everyone remembers. The young wolf feels the remembered heat under the cold, a ghost itch inside the hide, and then the beta wolf's shoulder brushes theirs, a reminder to stay in today, not in reruns. The alpha wolf samples the air from different heights, the way the morning lesson taught, and the pack waits for the verdict. Conflict is a currency. Spending it in a blizzard economy is expensive. They approach the crossing sideways, never presenting a straight line. Rival paws impressed an efficient rhythm. Long stride for the lead, matched beats behind. The lighter steps skittering now and then around drifts, curious or impatient. A faint ribbon of rival cologne whispers of crushed cedar. Ah yes, the eternal debate between spruce and cedar, like arguing over which playlist is better for focusing. Humor 1 arrives when the raven lands in the exact center of the intersection, like a traffic cop with a noisy jacket, hops twice, and leaves a dramatic signature that says, "I was here. Also, I am important." The alpha wolf inspects a shallow scrape where the rival lead wolf paused to read the same air they're reading now. Nose to snow, then a small head tilt. The rivals passed within the last handful of hours, pulling downslope toward the blue-shadowed creek. The beta wolf tests the narrative. No sprint marks, no panic, no cautious doublebacks. Intentional travel, not a raid. The adult wolves release a tension they didn't admit to holding. Shoulders loosen, tails breathe. The young wolf looks to the mother wolf, who gives a tiny nod that says our den is behind us and still ours. Quirky detail clings to a buckthorn twig at the crossing, a frozen bead of sap that caught a stray feather. Not raven, not owl, small, olive brown, probably a siskin. The young wolf noses the bead and finds it surprisingly sweet bitter, like winter's version of a hard candy you pretend to enjoy at a relative's house. The baby wolf tries a lick, makes a tiny face, and wipes tongue on snow with maximum drama. Humor 2. An adult wolf imitates the baby wolf's face and earns a quiet huff from the den guardian, which in wolf language is basically a parental comment section. The alpha wolf chooses restraint in the cleanest way possible, by stepping around the rival trail as if it were a sleeping stream. No marking, no message, no reply. Silence can be a decision. The beta wolf lays a low route that parallels the rivals for a short stretch, not shadowing, just checking for any sign of a switch toward their hunting lanes. The young wolf memorizes the rival rhythm, the slight hitch every 7th step from one of the middle walkers, the way the lighter set of paws like the wind-scoured crust. Details become file folders. You never know which you'll need. They pause where the meadow narrows into a funnel of willow and snow-heaped boulders. If the rivals wanted trouble, this would be the place. Nothing moves but the wind, and a single snow flea doing parkour across a sunlit patch like an athlete who refused the off-season. The beta wolf focuses the lesson without words. Respect the trail, reject the invitation. The young wolf breathes out slow, and feels the tremor leave the body. The same tremor that tried to return the old scar that isn't theirs. Humor 3 arrives courtesy of a grouse, exploding from a willow clump, with the drama of a stage magician, showering powder and opinions. Every wolf flinches, because dignity is a fair weather skill. Then the mother wolf calmly restacks her composure in 3 neat motions: blink, exhale, tail smooth. The baby wolf looks impressed, which is an achievement. Babies generally rate everything best thing ever, or betrayal. The raven, who had flown at the grouse like it owned it, retreats to a post and pretends that was the plan all along. They climb to a low knoll where wind combs the snow into thin ribs. From there, the rival trail is a slanted scar across the white, already softening under fresh drift. The alpha wolf sends scent downwind, just enough to say we noticed, and then erases their own edges by moving into the flank of a spruce shadow where draft scatters signatures. The beta wolf makes a final check. No fresh accents on the rival line, no sudden shift of gait suggesting a pivot toward the pack's calmer ground. The story that emerges is unexciting, which in winter is a happy genre. Memory knits a bridge from caution to calm. The young wolf recalls the willow-stitched crossing, the blue-lit hoofprints, the base of the river, and threads today's lesson into that chord. Restraint is a path like any other, one you walk with deliberate pause. The den guardian, satisfied the baby wolf's curiosity, stayed on a short leash, drifts closer to the center of the formation. The adult wolves tighten the hinge, then let it relax again as the knoll falls behind. They move on, but not hurriedly. The day's remaining light is soft gold with a tired edge, the kind that promises a good freeze overnight. The beta wolf leaves one last marker only the pack will read. A shallow scuff at the base of a bent aspen, where lichen makes a green-gray beard. The code says, "We passed, we're fine, continue the plan." The alpha wolf answers by leading them into the narrow belt of dwarf pines that runs like a seam toward the safer side of the valley. Threads, seams. This is how winter clothing is made. At the margin of the pines, the young wolf glances back one more time and sees the rival track crossing already blurred at the edges. Storm soft, the way memories should be when they aren't stories you want to feed. The pack slips forward, light on the toes, quiet in the lungs. Somewhere a fox writes tiny calligraphy in the snow, and somewhere else, elk practice the old choreography of evening. The raven coasts overhead, obviously planning a recap nobody requested. The pack ignores the comments section and chooses the next sentence together, ending this one with a period, not an exclamation. The valley narrows where the river braids through willows, and afternoon light lays a thin glaze on everything, as if the cold were a chef with a single garnish. The alpha wolf brings the pack to the bank and stands with paws close, reading the surface. The river wears winter like a glass coat, clear here, cloudy there, stitched with white seams where ice has grabbed itself and held on. Beneath, a slow current moves like a thought you can't quite catch. The canon event opens. Choose the ford, read the ice, cross without writing a tragedy. The beta wolf circles to sample sounds, ears forward, paw pads memorizing vibrations, nose low to taste the exhale of water. Ice sings if you ask nicely. A high ping near the center line, young ice, pretty voice, unreliable scheduling. A lower, muffled thrum where the channel shoals. Older ice, thicker. A baritone with work boots. The den guardian nudges the baby wolf behind a drifted sandbar that makes a windless pocket, a tiny theater where the pack's shadows play on the snow. The young wolf watches the beta wolf lean and listen, then places a paw where willows tie the bank with roots like braided rope. Quirky detail waits in a trapped world. A line of air bubbles frozen mid-laugh under the surface, beads like a string of pearls the river forgot to collect. The young wolf noses the ice and sees a minnow flick past, stunned by the unexpected ceiling. For humor 1, the raven tries to skate the edge and executes the classic move known as overconfidence, followed by quick humility, winging for balance and dignity, while pretending it planned to take off all along. The alpha wolf marks 3 candidates: a shallow riffle where stones lift the flow, a narrow neck pinched by willow buttresses, and a shaded bend where snow has drifted a thick white bridge. The beta wolf vetoes the drift at once. Snow bridges look generous, but winter is full of friendly liars. The riffle hums steady. The willow pinch is glassy clear with a web of fractures like fine cracks in pottery. The pack follows the alpha wolf along the bank, each adult wolf checking tone with a light tap, never a stomp, because stomping is for summer puddles and drama rehearsals. A joke arrives when an adult wolf tests a dead cattail stalk and recoils as seeds explode in a tiny blizzard of fluff, the botanical equivalent of a confetti cannon. The young wolf gets a face full of down, goes cross-eyed, and snorts it out like a party favor. The mother wolf smothers a laugh and resumes her quiet scan, tail smoothing the baby wolf's nerves. The beta wolf returns to the riffle and lowers chin to ice, ear pressed close. The song there is a layered hum, water under, pebbles talking, the top skin keeping tempo. The alpha wolf accepts the melody and signals the plan: cross in single file, spaced a body length, pause on the dull, not ringing zones. They begin at the edge where willow roots lace the bank into something trustworthy. Paw, pause, paw, listen. The alpha wolf glides first, stepping on the ice the way one lays hands on a sleeping friend. Gentle, sure, no surprises. A faint crack scribbles a warning and then holds. The beta wolf eyes a line of frost flowers, delicate rime blooms that grow where breath and cold negotiate, and chooses to step beside them rather than on them. Beauty is often attached to fragility. The young wolf mimics the placement and feels the difference. Here the ice speaks in a low, satiny buzz. A half step away, it turns glassy and nervous. Halfway out, the river complains in a drawn-out wail note, a sound that makes the ribs remember they are instruments. Everyone freezes. The alpha wolf does not unfreeze for 3 breaths, then shifts weight backward onto the last paw placed, redistributing pressure across a safer plate. The sound fades. The pack resumes, ultra-slow, as if time itself were brittle. Humor too sneaks in when a bubble under the ice farts its way along the surface, trapped air doing slapstick in miniature. Even the alpha wolf grants it one quiet blink of amusement. The river's comedy hour continues without us. The baby wolf yips once, a tiny squeak that says both, "This is weird," and "I am brave." The mother wolf's tail brushes the baby wolf's muzzle, and all is well ribbon. The den guardian, last in line, tests a micro crack near the bank with feather-light pressure, then reroutes around it, body angling, so the next paw meets a frosted patch that sounds like tapping a loaf's crust. The beta wolf leads the young wolf to a spot where a submerged log breaks the current and laminates the ice above. The music here is dull, a good dull, the kind that means buttresses under the stage. At the narrow neck, the ice clears to glass, and the young wolf sees river weeds waving in slow motion like sleepy hands. A single leaf rides the current under their paws, drifting as if time forgot to finish it. Quirky detail number 2. A tiny snout prints the underside of the ice, likely from an otter that surfaced earlier and tested the world it could not crack. The raven, back on a sapling, provides color commentary by crunching a snow crust and looking very impressed with its own science. Humor 3 lands, courtesy of an adult wolf, who misreads a reflection and earnestly tries to sniff another wolf on the ice, booping its own nose against its mirror with the softest thunk. The beta wolf gives a patient side-eye, and the adult recenters, reminded that glass floors come with optical illusions as a feature, not a bug. The far bank rises in a small terrace scabbed with sedge, a good exit if they time it between the river's flexes. The alpha wolf increases spacing, 2 body lengths now, so the ice gets to process one visitor at a time. The pack moves like the second hand of a clock that got a mindfulness coach. The young wolf reaches the terrace and steps into snow with relief that tastes like warm fat in memory. The beta wolf follows, then the mother wolf with the baby wolf tucked between forelegs, then the adult wolves, then the den guardian, who stands midstream 1 extra beat reading before taking the final 2 steps. Behind them, the river exhaled a tired sigh and laid down new hairline sketches where paw heat kissed the surface. The alpha wolf turns to check the line, scanning for any hidden crack that might ambush a return trip. The beta wolf marks the landing with a light scuff at the sedge base, pack code for good here if river sings low. The young wolf memorizes the whole stanza: willow roots, frost flowers, riffle hum, submerged log, glass bend, sedge terrace. That's how a winter map is written, not with ink, but with ears, paws, and a decision to move like you won't get a second draft. They don't linger. Crossing is punctuation, not a paragraph. The alpha wolf guides them into a strip of dwarf birch where wind has groomed the snow into low dunes, perfect for vanishing the trail's last bold notes. The den guardian brings up the rear and checks twice that the baby wolf's paws are warm enough, tucking them briefly under belly while standing as a windbreak. The young wolf catches one last bubble flip its way under the ice, and for a heartbeat, thinks of how much in winter survives by being under something: snow, bark, silence. When the birches swallow their forms, and the river's base fades back into the valley's general orchestra, the pack releases the breath they didn't know they had been sharing. No applause, just a shared calm that says the choice was careful and the path was true. The raven peels off to edit the narrative into a more dramatic version elsewhere, as is tradition. The pack keeps the simple version: listened, tested, crossed. And the ice now behind them settles into its evening key, humming a song they'll recognize if they need it again. Night lowers its voice and slides thin clouds across the moon until it looks like a soft coin rubbed smooth by pockets. The valley picks up a silver hush, and elk scent climbs from rumor to readable line. The alpha wolf angles the pack along the birches. The beta wolf checks the corridor from ankle height, then shoulder height, choosing the layer where breath lingers longest. Hunger murmurs in the ribs, polite, insistent. The canon event opens with careful confidence, a moonlit elk trial. Not a charge, a test. Elk hold the shallow upland where wind breaks on dwarf willows. Bodies sway, a low sea with ribs for waves. The beta wolf arranges positions with tiny gestures. The alpha wolf will arc wide to nudge. An adult wolf will ghost the downwind edge. Another adult will wait at the corridor's hinge. The young wolf pairs with the beta wolf to practice pressure without noise. The mother wolf keeps the baby wolf in a scooped pocket of snow, the den guardian a windbreak behind them, ears split for trouble and focus. A quirky detail tugs at attention. The lead cow wears a frozen mustache of grass, a little green comb bobbing with each exhale. Her breath makes imperfect rings that drift sideways, as if the night were blowing soap bubbles and forgetting the rules. The young wolf files it under winter fashion that somehow still looks practical. They begin with rehearsal air. The alpha wolf slides into the herd's edge the way a suggestion enters a conversation. Heads rise one by one, not panic, just edits to posture. The beta wolf guides the young wolf along a shallow swale where sound goes to nap. Paws land on grass crowns and old hoof dimples, the dull places. Humor one arrives as the young wolf's belly offers a quiet squeak, a treasonous harmonica, then, mortified, goes silent. The beta wolf pretends not to hear, which is a gift. The plan would look simple if drawn. Crease the herd's confidence, Let one animal choose the tidy path that isn't, then fold the crease into a brief hallway. No sprint until the hallway exists. The adult wolf on the flank becomes negative space, present as a decision the elk decline to make. The alpha wolf leans pressure one notch higher, patient as a volume knob. Wind picks now to flex. A sly gust lifts a thread of wolf scent and drapes it over the swale. 3 elk do the herd's version of a group alert. Small shuffle, shared look. The crease closes, the hallway collapses. The young wolf steps too fast, powder sighing like a gossip. The alpha wolf freezes mid-glide, a sculpture commissioned by Calm. The beta wolf taps shoulder. Breathe, reset, let forgetting do its work. Humor, 2 drops from above. The raven arrives late, circles like a reviewer seeking metaphors, and perches on the noisiest branch in the meadow. It squeaks at full confession volume. Several elk stare at the tree, as if it has opinions about literature. The raven assumes the classic nothing-to-see-here posture that only ravens believe. Reset earns minutes, the currency winter inflates. The beta wolf redrafts by inches, slide the downwind flank lower, turn the alpha wolf's line into a soft crescent, move the young wolf to ground that answers with a dull thud, not a glassy chirp. The mother wolf tucks tail over the baby wolf's nose, the universal clause for nap first, drama later. Clouds thin. The moon brightens by one quiet shade. 2 yearlings browse with curiosity bigger than wisdom. The alpha wolf becomes inconvenient on their periphery. The adult wolf at the far hinge closes an invisible door. The beta wolf pours a thread of pressure across the yearlings' backs like writing with a fine brush. The hallway appears, brief and precise. They commit at a walk that tones into a trot, saving sprint for the last 90 heartbeats. The yearlings hesitate, choose the path that looks open and is actually edited. The alpha wolf snaps a sideways feint, a neat cut that redirects the lead yearling by 2 body widths. Everything swings on that crisp gesture. The second yearling bogs half a stride in a drift and climbs out, rhythm bent. The near flank adult wolf materializes like punctuation at the end of a sentence you didn't know you were writing. Humor 3 bubbles from the background herd when an elk sneezes so eagerly it startles itself into 2 unnecessary hops, achieving nothing but style points. If this were a different channel, someone would hold up scorecards. It is not. So the pack ignores the choreography critique and follows the corridor. The young wolf glances to the beta wolf for the exact when. The answer is yes, but on a gradient. They rise. Pause choosing the dull snow that grips without shouting. Breath settles into a pocket in the chest where the cold can't nitpick. The hallway narrows, then bowls. The pack skims the lip, refusing the noisy center. The river's bass note, distant left, keeps time, steady and familiar after the afternoon crossing. The decisive feint comes again, now from the beta wolf, shoulder cutting across the yearling's line, with the sort of confidence landscapes believe. The yearling takes the offer the terrain pretends to make and turns. The alpha wolf flows to close the far side. For a handful of seconds, everything is geometry and timing. No heroics, just competent edits to a living map. The adult wolf at the hinge seals the end of the bowl, and the yearling's options reduce to one slow choice. They bring it down without a tumble, pressing with weight and intention, snow swallowing the scuffle, air quiet except for fast breathing and the soft hush of pause. This is a test, not a spectacle. Costs are acknowledged with silence. The herd rolls away in a low wave, already organizing new edges. The raven glides down with an exaggerated sigh, as if the third act needed more dialogue. The quirky detail crowns the moment. Frost has braided tiny prisms along the beta wolf's whiskers, each catching moonlight and throwing a pocket full of stars. The young wolf memorizes it as proof that skill leaves bright residue. They eat enough to tilt thoughts from sharp to round. The alpha wolf gives the young wolf a brief ear lick, an audit mark that says learning under pressure counts double. What remains goes into a neat cache, stamped with the pack code for tomorrow's hunger to find. The den guardian escorts the baby wolf to the warm fringe only when the air has stepped down from alert. Thin clouds slide back over the moon, the soft coin dimming to an even softer glow. Under dwarf pines, the pack's breathing settles into one key, a small choir with fur. The trial delivered what it promised, teamwork frayed, then rethreaded by 2 clean feints and a refusal to rush. The valley exhales its older cold. Birch twigs write faint lines against the sky. The river hums the bass everyone knows by heart. The young wolf curls around a memory of frost star whiskers and a hallway made of bodies and patience. And sleep arrives the way snow falls when no one is looking. Calm, precise, and kind. Morning arrives thin and glassy, the kind of light that makes every ridge look honest about its angles. The pack wakes with bellies leveled down to quiet, not empty exactly, but light enough that thoughts drift toward food, with the persistence of a song stuck in your head. The alpha wolf stands, shakes frost into a tiny halo, and listens to the air. The beta wolf does the same, then tips muzzle toward the north flats where wind collects gossip. Hunger makes everyone very polite. The canon event moves them. Follow the raven to what winter hid, and bargain with the valley's unwritten rules. The raven arrives like it heard its cue, crossing the sky with leisurely strokes that say, "Try to keep up." It gives a single croak, not the urgent "now," but the mellow nearby. The alpha wolf sets a steady trot that forgives the snow's variable mood. The young wolf keeps within shoulder brush of the beta wolf, remembering to land on the dull places, the low snow where grasses quilt the crust, and to trail their own breath so it pools behind, not ahead. They angle through the zone where dwarf birch and willow braid, and the wind sharpens into a narrow whisper. The raven glides low enough to show off a scrap of hide dangling from its beak, proof of concept, if not a full menu. Humor 1. An adult wolf answers the dangling scrap with a dignified side-eye that reads, "We see your appetizer. Where's the restaurant?" A joke entirely for the pack, because ravens believe all feedback is applause. The scent flips from abstract to true at a shallow swale, rimmed in sedge. There, under a comb of snow, the valley keeps a secret. A half-buried carcass, elk, old, wind-polished. Only the knuckle line of a shoulder and a corner of hide break the white. The raven lands with theatrical delicacy and performs the ritual hop circle that translates to, "I found this. I get first commentary." The alpha wolf allows the performance, then noses the snow along the downwind edge where scent is thickest and risk lowest. The den guardian and an adult wolf set a perimeter, reading for trouble that often attends free meals, cats, coyotes. The grumpy rumor of a wolverine. None present, only fox signatures like cursive threaded in and out of the sedge. Quirky detail crowns the find. Frost has grown little feathers, rime plumes, along the exposed hide, so the carcass wears its own winter stole. The young wolf touches it, and the plumes shatter like spun sugar, tiny halos collapsing into glitter. Beneath, the hide is drum-tight over frozen ribs. The beta wolf shows the method. Dig where wind already shaved, keep excavation efficient, take turns so paws stay warm, and always keep one ear on the big picture. It's CrossFit, but with stakes and better outfits. Snow moves in small avalanches under paws. The mother wolf occupies the baby wolf with a side quest. Paw the soft drift for mouse tunnels, not to hunt. Today isn't about that, but to learn how warmth writes in snow. The baby wolf discovers an air pocket, the shape of a tiny room, and sticks face in, emerging with a powdery mustache. Humor 2. The young wolf does the same to demonstrate solidarity, and accidentally sneezes a perfect ring into the air. a frosty donut that wobbles, floats, and then kisses the carcass like ceremonial confetti. The alpha wolf lands the negotiation with the raven in the old style: patience plus a small gift. A quick flip of a loose shard, secondary trimmings, not prime, and a step back. The raven hops in, grabs the bit, and croaks approval. This is winter etiquette at its kindest. Nobody eats well if the alarm channel turns against you. A second raven arrives, less theater, more business, and stations itself as lookout on a sedge stalk, which bends under the weight with comic optimism. The stalk does not snap. The stalk clearly deserves a raise. The first open comes with the beta wolf's teeth finding a seam where hide meets rib. Not tearing, worrying, loosening. Letting the material tell you its weakest argument. A muffled crack as frozen ligament yields, then a small lift. The den's scent tightens behind them as the den guardian clocks wind. The alpha wolf allows entry, not a rush, not a scrum. This is eating like the river. Steady pressure finding pathways. They take turns, rhythm over greed. The young wolf earns access after 2 rounds of paw work and 1 shift on perimeter, learning that patience tastes almost as good as fat when it finally becomes fat. A single crunch releases marrow with a sweet, metallic perfume. Humor 3 arrives courtesy of an adult wolf who overcommits to a bone pull and topples backward into a drift, disappearing entirely, except for a tail tip that wags once, as if to assure the valley that dignity is, in fact, a renewable resource. The adult resurfaces wearing a crown of sedge and a face that says, "We will not be discussing this." The pack eats to quiet, not to bursting. The alpha wolf draws a line no one steps over. Save some for later selves. Share some with winged critics who paid the marketing budget. The raven returns to the theater, performing thoughtful head tilts, turning each bite into content. The beta wolf parcels a few smaller fragments to the edge, tip money for the cleanup crew. The young wolf tucks away the flavors as if they were coordinates: rind bitter, cold sweet, iron soft. These are winter's dictionaries. A low gust shakes the swale and delivers a sidebar: faint cat musk, old, smudged by days of wind. Cougar once, not now. The den guardian shifts, rebalances the perimeter, and the alpha wolf adds a speed notch to the meal. Not a hurry, a tightening of the metronome. The baby wolf tries a frozen tuft and makes the universal face for, "This is both interesting and not food," then settles against the mother wolf's chest, where breath and heartbeat sort the world into brave and safe. The quirky sub-lesson slides in with a shard of rib. When broken just so, it becomes a narrow spoon. The beta wolf uses it to lever a sheath of fat free without shredding the hide, minimizing scent plume for later. Tools exist, even if you don't call them tools. The young wolf memorizes the angle. Somewhere inside, the blueprint for future cleverness drafts a tidy line. When the alpha wolf calls time, it's with a tidy sweep of paw over the exposed portion, banking snow against edges to rewrite the smell into something the wind has to work to advertise. The cash mark is a subtle scuff and a weave of paw prints that turn approach into a maze non-pack noses won't enjoy. The raven, paid and fed, provides the final service. A loud bored croak that will read to other scavengers as stale news. Influence management is weirdly cross-species. On departure, the pack pauses for a temperature check. The wind keeps its narrow voice. No fresh signatures creep into the swale. They peel away along the low line, where birch shadows lace the snow, erasing themselves with measured steps. The young wolf glances back exactly once and sees the rime-feathered hide settle into its white cuff, like winter tucking a napkin over its lap between courses. Hunger loosens its hands. Thoughts round again. The river's bass hum threads back into the day's music, and the memory of Frost Star whiskers from last night hangs generous over the scene. As they move, the beta wolf bumps the young wolf's shoulder, reminder that food isn't only hunting, it's reading, asking, trading, and leaving the page neat for when the story returns. Ahead, dwarf pines write calligraphy across the drift. Behind, the raven edits with enthusiasm. The pack chooses the quiet middle, full enough to think well, light enough to move right. They angle through the dwarf pines toward the old den mound, a low shoulder of earth tucked into a slope where summer roots hold everything together. And winter keeps trying to renegotiate the contract. The wind has braided little scours across the drift, and one of those braids ends in a sunken patch that shouldn't exist. The alpha wolf halts. The beta wolf steps forward and reads the slope with nose and paw. Snow sag, not whole yet. A cave-in has pinched the den's front chamber, pressing the roof down like a careless elbow. The cannon event tightens into focus. Digging is not just enthusiasm, it's medicine with side effects. The den guardian slides to the low side and listens with jaw to ground, the old trick where bones carry news. A faint hollow answers, then a quiet hush that sounds like trapped air resolving itself too slowly. The mother wolf tucks the baby wolf into a windless pocket behind a root rib and stations an adult wolf as a curtain. The alpha wolf sets the pattern: 2 diggers, 1 packer, 1 prop, 1 lookout, 1 spare. The beta wolf claims the prop, because holding a collapsing world up for a few breaths is a teacher's job. First touch is gentle, paws skimming only the snowskin, not punching through to collapse the crust. The young wolf learns to carve away the weight as if peeling an orange without breaking the spiral. The top drift is crusty meringue. Beneath lies sugar snow that wants to avalanche if anyone tries to be a hero. Humor, one arrives when an adult wolf shovels a perfect scoop and flings it backward directly onto the lookout's face. The lookout blinks through a powdered mask with the patient air of someone who will remember this at an inconvenient time during a future nap. They uncover the den mouth's memory, now a dented oval rimed with frost crystals that grow like tiny ferns. The beta wolf slides under the sag in a low crouch and braces the roof with shoulders, forelegs planted wide, back-angled so weight transfers into the slope. The young wolf feels the tremor of held pressure humming through the beta wolf's hide and understands, in the gut, why strength without motion is still strength. Quirky detail twinkles off the inner wall. Resin beads from a pine root have frozen into citrus-scented pearls. The mother wolf noses one. It pops free and perfumes the cramped air like a tiny forest candle. The alpha wolf orders short cycles. Diggers work 5 heartbeats, then swap. Pack snow downhill as blocks, not powder. Blocks stack, powder slides. The den guardian trims the door frame with teeth so no sharp edges catch fur during exits. Every few breaths, the beta wolf rolls one shoulder and then the other, redistributing load, murmuring something only muscles can hear. The young wolf wedges beside the den guardian and scoops with careful paws, pushing the loosened snow to the packer, who builds a neat berm that will double as a windbreak later. Efficiency is its own blanket. Humor too lands in the form of the raven, who arrives to supervise from a bent sapling and immediately drops a pine cone that bounces, rolls, and spirals as if unscrewing winter. The baby wolf pounces it with a tiny growl, then looks very professional while wearing 3 pine needles like avant-garde whiskers. The den guardian allows exactly 1 proud strut before redirecting attention to the business end of the dig with a soft nose bump. A thin sigh whistles from the dented doorway as the first fist of air clears into clean space. The alpha wolf lowers head, breathes in, and reads humidity and cold. The inner chamber holds, but the antechamber is crushed into a pancake. The plan revises. Instead of reopening the old entrance outright, they will carve a temporary skylight 3 paw lengths upslope where the crust is thick and the root lattice gives scaffolding. The beta wolf shimmies out, shakes snow from fur in a spray that sounds like chalk dust, and relocates to brace at the new cut. The young wolf takes the lead on the pilot hole. Tiny scoops, shallow angles, ears tuned to snow's grammar. When crystals sing brittle, back off. When they hush, proceed. The alpha wolf widens. The packer stacks. A seam of harder wind-borne interrupts progress. The den guardian scores it with incisors in a neat crosshatch, and the slab releases like a secret door. Cold air exhales, then warm breath answers from below, stale but lively. The mother wolf rumbles a note that could be relief or gratitude. In winter, those are cousins. Quirky side note flickers at the cut edge. A hibernating beetle nested in a pocket of dry needles, legs tucked, wearing a micro coat of frost. The young wolf nudges the pocket aside intact, moving the tiny sleeper to the windless edge. Respect for apartments you didn't build is part of the lease. They widen the skylight just enough for a careful head. The alpha wolf dips muzzle in and drinks the chamber's air, then lifts to confirm, no sourness of rot, no cat musk, only old bedding, pine, and the faint coin taste of soil. The beta wolf takes the brace again, and the den guardian snakes in, shoulders compressing, back legs pushing against the slope. Inside a soft scrabble, then a tidy cough as powder lifts and settles. The den guardian emerges with a mouthful of stale moss that floats away like a retired cloud. Another pass. More debris. The tunnel remembers its shape. Humor 3 shows up hammy. An adult wolf returns from block stack duty with a perfectly rectangular snow brick on its head like a very serious hat. It stands there for a beat, eyes noble, then allows the brick to slide off with theatrical gravity. Even the alpha wolf's tail gives one involuntary wag. Dignity remains unbroken, if slightly snow-dusted. The work moves in cycles. Dig, brace, pack, check, swap, breathe. The beta wolf rotates out for the young wolf to test the brace. Only 3 breaths this time, just long enough to feel the slopes whisper through bone. The young wolf steps away with a new respect for stillness that sweats. The alpha wolf noses the roof and decides the risk has fallen below the line where chance gets a vote. The den guardian slides fully inside, turns, and calls the interior good with a slow blink and a tail stroke on the floor. The mother wolf tests the refreshed chamber by pressing a forepaw in and then withdrawing with the efficient contentment of someone who found the perfect pillow. They finish by installing supports the forest lens, 2 stiff willow stems wedged under the roof angle, bark intact so grip doesn't slip. No carpentry, just leverage and common sense. The skylight becomes a vent lined with a lip of packed snow that resists drip and drafts. The alpha wolf smears a ribbon of snow over the old collapsed entrance to erase curiosity, then scuffs a subtle arrow the pack will read later when wind redrafts the slope again. The baby wolf receives the grand tour. 2 steps into the threshold, nose lifted, ears forward, tail wagging the small metronome of approval. The mother wolf guides the baby wolf in a tight circle and back out, a rehearsal for deeper use when storms or sleep require it. The young wolf lingers at the doorway and inhales the den's memory. Summer dirt baked into winter, the ghost of old naps. The cedar spruce cologne debate still unresolved in the fabric of the moss. Shadows lengthen blue. The wind pulls one last thread along the ridge and then gives them the courtesy of quiet. The beta wolf stretches, shoulders loosening, and the tremor of held weight drains away like water, finding downhill. The alpha wolf surveys the berm, the vent, the cleaned threshold, and stamps a final approval in the snow. One neat paw print, firm and square. On departure, resin pearls still scent the crust, and the beetle sleeps on at the edge of the new vent like an accidental housemate. The raven, satisfied with the design changes, lifts off with a toss that says it was foreman all along. The pack moves back into the pines with the kind of fatigue that warms rather than frays. They have edited winter without tearing the page. The young wolf feels taller by exactly the weight of a roof they helped hold. And if that's not the math of growing, nothing is. Evening edges toward iron and violet, the color the sky wears when it wants the valley to speak more softly. The pack travels the rim above the canyon, where the river has carved a long, deliberate sentence through stone. Wind scrapes uphill in steady strokes, but it's the quiet inside the pack that matters. Full enough from the buried feast to think clearly, lean enough to stay alert. The alpha wolf leads along a ledge no wider than a deer's idea of generosity, paws finding the old scuffs pressed into sandstone by seasons' worth of careful traffic. The beta wolf keeps the young wolf tight to the inner wall, rock to the ribs, air to the whiskers. The canon event finds them the way important tests do, not with a shout, but with a small mismatch in rhythm. The alpha wolf pauses at a notch where the ledge narrows and studies the far side. Wind has polished that next lip to glass. Snow has spackled the seam, turning grip into theory. The pack waits, breaths sinking to the river's base. When the alpha wolf steps, the ledge answers with a crumble that sounds like bones, arranging themselves into an older position. The paw holds, but the correction afterward is a hair faster than usual. It's nothing. It's everything. The beta wolf registers the note, and so, crucially, does the young wolf. They reverse one wolf length to a safer shelf. The alpha wolf steadies, posture impeccable again. Still, the valley has delivered a memo. Leadership thrives on certainty, but winter edits certainty without apology. The beta wolf glances at the alpha wolf, clean, respectful, and then angles to a small outcrop that overlooks a secondary route, narrower, but pressed by dwarf juniper roots. The alternate path is less grand and more honest. The den guardian reads the baby wolf's shiver and stations an adult wolf as a windbreak while options are rehearsed in silence. Quirky detail perches at elbow height. On the juniper, a tangle of old spider silk holds a clutch of rime beads that look exactly like tiny lanterns, winter festival lights no one strung on purpose. The young wolf noses them, and the beads tremble but do not fall. The beta wolf watches the small lantern steady and decides, as if taking a cue, to test the alternate path in 3 measured steps. Rock answers with dull confidence. The river hums approval. Humor 1 arrives courtesy of the raven, who chooses this moment to fly by with what is unmistakably a stolen sandwich wrapper from a far-off campsite, a flag of crinkly triumph snapping in the updraft. It rattles like a tiny drum solo. Even the alpha wolf's ear flicks. The raven banks, drops the wrapper, and pretends it meant to decorate the cliff with modern art. The choice is not mandate but invitation. The alpha wolf can continue on the primary ledge and probably succeed. The beta wolf can propose the root-stitched variant and probably improve everyone's odds. Leadership is angles, not absolutes. The beta wolf frames the angle by stepping back to the alpha wolf's shoulder and holding still, not usurping, not hesitating, offering. The alpha wolf holds the gaze for 2 heartbeats that contain 3 winters of memory, and then does the wisest thing a leader can do when the valley requests a footnote. Nods. The reroute requires choreography. The adult wolves will ferry the baby wolf at the narrowest pinch, one positioning ahead as anchor, one behind as hinge. The mother wolf will go third to settle scent and pace. The young wolf will take point with the beta wolf, not because of rank, but because learning must stand where it can see the problem before it becomes story. They begin. The juniper root path demands smaller steps and a gentler stance, paws flat, claws lightly engaged, shoulders low so balance stays married to the rock. The young wolf feels tuning happen in the ankles, each joint answering like a string tightened just enough to find its pitch. Wind rushes up the cliff with opinions about drama. The pack ignores the critique and keeps moving. Humor. 2. Halfway across, an adult wolf sneezes at a juniper berry stuck to its nose and accidentally flicks it perfectly into the raven's open beak as the bird coasts past with scandalized delight. The raven nearly drops out of the sky from the surprise of being fed by accident, then recovers with a performative caw that will absolutely grow into legend by sunset. At the pinch, Rock leans out a little, asking for faith. The beta wolf steps onto a rib the width of 2 claws and tests its moral character. It holds. The young wolf mirrors and feels the canyon open under the ribs like a slow, patient mouth. Breath stays small and useful. The adult wolves orchestrate the baby wolf fairy, weight distribution practiced in 100 mundane crossings now elevated to liturgy. The den guardian whispers with paws, "Here now, this much pressure, rest." The mother wolf flows after, tail a steadying metronome. The baby wolf studies the way you watch a lighthouse. The alpha wolf brings up the rear, which is its own kind of confession and its own kind of strength. Leaders who can follow are glaciers, quiet, massive, inevitable. Rock under the alpha wolf's last step chips with a sound like a teacup cracking. The paw shifts to the juniper rib, stance lowers, and the canyon's appetite closes unsatisfied. The pack resets breathing, which is to say they appreciate the river's base more than ever. The leadership trial isn't over until hierarchy settles back without bruises. On the safer terrace, the alpha wolf stands, shoulders square, eyes clear. The beta wolf arrives and lowers head in compact respect, then steps beside, not before. The alpha wolf touches ear to ear, a contact brief and decisive. Authority affirmed, counsel valued. The young wolf watches the exchange happen in one breath and understands more about leadership than a dozen hunts could teach. It is not a crown. It is a conversation you have with weather and with each other. Quirky addendum: a sun-warmed patch on the terrace releases the essay smell of crushed sage, and for a moment the whole cliff smells like someone baked bread. Everyone pauses in a small, goofy happiness no algorithm could predict. Humor slips in when the baby wolf tries to investigate the scent and sneezes itself backward into the mother wolf's forelegs, then pretends the maneuver was a tactical review. They continue along the terrace to a notch where the canyon gives them a staircase of ledges, softened by old snow. The river below throws up a colder draft, but the worst edges are behind. The beta wolf points out how the alternate path, less direct, slower, kept more choices open at each step. The young wolf files the truth where it will be found again. Speed is a spice, not a meal. The light leans toward indigo and then slides into its pocket. The pack takes a final look back at the shelf where certainty almost overreached. Snow has already begun smoothing the scuff where the alpha wolf corrected. The valley prefers clean pages. The alpha wolf angles them into the dwarf pines above the canyon and sets a camp posture with the den at their back and the river's base conducting the night. Before sleep, the beta wolf places a small scuff and a subtle weave at the head of the safer route, a signature the pack will read next time weather decides to edit. The alpha wolf pretends not to watch and absolutely watches, then places its own print beside the mark. 2 decisions, side by side. The young wolf curls nose to tail with the warm knowledge that the pack did not break to make room for this adjustment. It bent and then returned, stronger at the hinge. The lantern rime on the juniper holds a last glimmer before frost turns it to ordinary again. The canyon, satisfied with the day's lesson, hums its oldest chord. Night thins like ink stirred into water, and the aurora, last night's shy green seamstress, packs up her ribbons and slips behind the mountains. Frost sighs off the dwarf pines in slow glitter. The alpha wolf stands first, shoulders outlined in a gray that isn't quite light and isn't quite memory. The river's base changes key, still deep, but with a soft treble from meltwater testing its first syllables under the ice. The canon event is simple and large. Last winter dawns. Not a calendar date. A feeling in the bones that says the hard chapter is turning. The pack assembles on a south-facing knoll where the sun arrives early, if it arrives at all. The beta wolf takes the count by nose and heartbeat, a ritual that begins in silence and ends in a small exhale everyone shares. Survivors are not tallied like trophies. They are named in roles, the way a story lists its characters before the next act. Alpha wolf, beta wolf, den guardian, mother wolf, 2 adult wolves, young wolf, baby wolf. The raven perches on an old fence post, unmistakably present for the audit like a nosy accountant paid in leftovers and clout. Quirky detail gleams at ankle height. In the lee of a juniper, a patch of snow has collapsed to reveal moss, the color of old tea, and a single blade of grass bent into a question mark. The baby wolf noses it, then looks up as if the valley just asked whether everyone slept well. Humor 1 arrives when the beta wolf sneezes a neat puff of fur, first tufts of the winter coat loosening, and the raven tries to steal it mid-air as limited edition nesting material. The wind snatches it instead and wears it like a tiny mustache for 10 steps. They inventory the routes that carried them, the spruce line lock-in nook, the silent fences and their detours, the riffle that sang true, the frost flower lane, the rival crossing that invited and was declined, the moonlit hallway that bent a yearling's decision without breaking the world, the rime-feathered carcass buried in dignity, the den skylight braced by shoulders, the juniper lantern ledge where counsel stood beside authority. The alpha wolf touches each wayfinder with a glance. The beta wolf adds footnotes only the pack can read. The young wolf, held mid-pack, watches the old map fade, and the new one ghost in, translucent at first, sharpening as the sun decides to be brave. They set new routes in the only voice winter respects, soft and specific. The alpha wolf leads a slow descent into the birch belt, where south slopes shrug ice first. Snow there wears a gray crust that cracks in polite hexagons under careful pause, spring's earliest punctuation. The den guardian marks a path that will hold the baby wolf's new stride, when drifts slump into uneven, ankle-tricking pillows. The mother wolf demonstrates the spring walk, less huddled, more elastic, and the baby wolf copies with the confidence of someone who thinks gravity is a suggestion. Humor 2. An adult wolf discovers that a shallow melt puddle is actually a deep opinion, sinks to the knees, and extracts itself with an expression that says the valley has issued patch notes without warning. Elk sign thickens into a present tense. Hoof cuts widen. Droppings soften to glossy commas that steam in the earliest sunlight. The beta wolf tests the air and finds the herd not yet moved uphill, still rehearsing the winter choreography out of habit. No hunt today. The alpha wolf chooses a route that will let calves write their first tracks without meeting the pack's shadow too soon. That decision is not charity. It's future math. Predators who learn patience earn quieter years. The river approves with a delicate glissando as a thin lid of shore ice surrenders a sliver to the current. Quirky spring cameo, a moth, confused and heroic, bumbles from the shelter of a rock and flutters exactly 3 times before deciding the world is still slightly above its pay grade. The young wolf watches it land on the warmest stone and hold perfectly still, as if buffering. Humor 3. The raven struts past the moth with theatrical restraint like a reviewer who will absolutely pan the early release, but also secretly hopes for a comeback tour. The pack pauses at the repaired den. The vent breathes a warmer note now, and the resin pearls inside glow faintly in the granular light. The den guardian checks the roof with chin and shoulder. It answers with the dull confidence of a solved problem. The baby wolf performs a ceremonial half-circle inside and out, then announces, via tail, that this is still excellent real estate. The mother wolf adds a fresh twist of dried grass, the domestic flourish of someone who doesn't need a reason to tidy. They set a spring corridor with a series of modest scuffs and brush marks. Pack code for, this line is gentle in the morning, softer in the evening, safe for training paws, when wind is from the north. The alpha wolf places the primary stamp. The beta wolf beside it adds the diagonal that means adjust for meltwater. The young wolf presses a print neatly where both marks meet, feeling more like punctuation than like ink. Future selves will read it and remember the day the ground began to talk in puddle tones and mud vowels. Lunch is a joke word for a nibble of cached fat, and a shared look that says full meals will return on the schedule. Spring writes across the hillside. The alpha wolf turns their face to the blue-striped sky and listens one more time to the river's base. It has climbed half a note. The valley smells of wet bark and faint onion where snow peeled back from wild bulbs. The winter cologne debate, spruce versus cedar, dissolves into a new blend. Sun on damp fur, a hint of thawed soil, some days green rehearsing backstage. They move, not farther, but differently. Paws lift a little higher to clear the crust that breaks with the rhythm of a polite audience clapping. The young wolf tries a longer stride and catches a small skid, then recovers with chic balance, filing the feeling next to frost star whiskers and juniper lanterns. The baby wolf discovers that puddles reflect wolves that seem to live under the ground and spends a solid minute negotiating with its own echo before concluding, both are adorable. By noon, the snow surface loosens into sugar on every south slope. The pack chooses shade where steps still hold, the alpha wolf teaching by posture that spring is generous in the morning and petty in the afternoon. The beta wolf noses a budding willow and gets a face full of golden dust that will become catkins soon. The sneeze that follows is baritone and dignified, a seasonal rebrand. The raven approves of all branding. Before the sun tips, they climb to the south knoll again, where the day began. The alpha wolf surveys the roots scratched across the valley by wind and shadows. The beta wolf audits for drift and edits. The count is the same as dawn's. Everyone stands a touch looser. The last of the frost releases from whiskers and rises like faint smoke. The young wolf leans against the beta wolf's shoulder and, in that easy pressure, understands why packs tell their stories by walking them. Last winter dawns, yes, but what matters is that they step on together, noses forward, tails describing small, contented curves in the mild air. The sun, freshly confident, settles warm on their backs. Snowfields go from glare to glaze, to a dullness that promises boots of mud by evening. The river closes the day's performance with a patient, continuous chord. The pack angles toward a birch stand that will be shade tomorrow at noon and a runway for new routes next week. The beta wolf glances once at the ridge where the lock-in nook held when the world went white, then looks ahead and walks. The alpha wolf does the same. The valley writes a new line, and the pack is already learning its handwriting. The ridge, the spruce seam, the blue-lit hoofprints, and the river that hummed like a heartbeat became our course through a winter that asked for patience first and speed only when the hallway appeared. We watched the pack teach itself to read, to pivot, to wait out a whiteout by listening to branches and breath, to step around a rival's trail without letting old scars decide the day, to cross a river by hearing the ice sing and placing pause on the dull, trustworthy notes, to bend a moonlit hunt with 2 clean feints and a refusal to hurry, to follow a raven, to a rime-feathered cache and eat to quiet instead of spectacle, to hold a roof with shoulders and carve a skylight that breathed, to trade certainty for counsel on a juniper-stitched ledge and let leadership become a conversation. Jokes traveled with them, a raven in a noisy jacket, a snow brick hat, a bubble under glass, pretending to be a comedian, because lightness keeps edges from cutting. Quirky truths stayed behind like breadcrumbs. frost star whiskers, lanterns of rime on spider silk, resin pearls perfuming cramped air, moss asking questions under a juniper, a moth buffering on a warm stone. In the end, last winter arrived not as a line on a chart, but as the river's key changing, coats loosening, and south slopes cracking into tidy hexagons. The pack counted survivors by roll and set routes in small, precise marks the wind could respect. If you hold the whole journey lightly in your hands, it blurs into a soft braid of tracks that begin in silver breath and end in a thawed chord, the kind you can fall asleep inside. The wolves step on. The valley softens its voice, and rest becomes the most honest map. Good night. See you later.